Hello, 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 fellow humans.
Well, welcome to the Rise of Humanness podcast, where we explore what it means to stay human in a world increasingly run by algorithms, bots, and machines. I'm Mike Schindler.
And I'm Chris Nolan.
And together, we're going to show you how to stay absolutely powerful,
Stay human.
and rise and thrive in the age of AI.
Yes, and even show you how to beat the bots. Well, let's rise.
The rise of humanness in the age of AI. It's a podcast with Chris and Mike. The rise of humanness in the age of AI. Stay curious, stay human, let's rise.
Wow.
Why we have smart people on our
Ross
show.
Dawson. Look at that background. That's very. You are a friend of Gerd, because he always has those kind of moving things behind him and stuff. You know.
Look at that. Jeez.
Very cool.
I think, Ross, I would have preferred if you had green behind you and wore a green shirt, and then we could have done a lot of things with the green screen, Chris.
Oh yeah, right, Mike.
Blue screen is such a thing as well.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah, that's true. We'll
Very
be
cool.
gentle. Yeah.
How are you?
I am wonderful, thank you.
Yeah, and it's about 9 o'clock in Australia.
It's 10 a.m.
10. All right. And where do you live in the Down Under?
Bondi Beach in Sydney.
Sydney. Ah, I have a good friend in Melbourne. You know Sean Callahan?
I do.
You do?
Yeah, I've known Sean for
has a big,
15 years at least.
He has a big, I think the largest executive story group in the world or something like that. Anecdote. Yeah. Yeah. I got to tell you, man, I don't know how you do it. I don't know how you futurists do it. I mean, you're really prolific. You're more than Garrett. I mean, he has his thing and he goes with, but you've got these charts and you got these graphics.
Oh, and your videos. I'm telling you.
God.
I mean, I thought we were super important, and then Chris is like, "Hey, do you know Ross?"
there-
Oh, I got a story for you, Ross. So I'm talking to this guy. Who was I talking to, Chris? And this guy's actually,
Why do I know? Yeah.
I don't know, Bob Pulver. That's who I was.
Oh, yeah.
And he's like, "Hey, do you know this guy Ross Dawson?" I'm like, "Why do I know this guy Ross Dawson?" And then I'm telling Chris, I'm like, "Hey, we got to get this guy Ross Dawson on our show."
Yeah.
And he's like, "We have Ross coming on our show like 2 weeks from now." And so just so you know, whatever you're doing, you're making your way through the AI world. Like Chris told me,
His
AI.
posts are like crazy.
Yeah.
He's like on it.
Yeah.
Where do you get all this stuff? Where do you
Wait, this isn't even the interview, Ross, just so you know.
Yeah, we just
started
I
the
tell you, we just wrap at the beginning a little bit.
We do. Yeah. So we'll start
Well,
here.
my last book was Thriving on Overload. And that's essentially tells the story of how, I used to give I give lots of keynotes, and one of the biggest questions at the end say, how do you keep across everything? And I says, well, I'm going to write a book which tells how to do it. And anyway, I wrote the book. It's called Thriving on Overload. And that's about essentially, these ideas. How do we, in a world of unlimited information, take that in, make sense of that in order to be able to make better decisions and to, essentially synthesize it all. So it's kind of capturing, with lots of interviews and input from other people and insights and so on. It's really distilling this idea of how it is. This is the master capability. It always has been, and even more tomorrow is this practice of bringing together this extraordinary, world of information we live in to things which we can pull together to make sense of them.
Well,
so that's what I do. And in a world of AI, sort of applying that to
I
that.
thought maybe you were going to say you cloned yourself or something like that.
I know. I don't know how you had. Yeah.
6 of us.
That's crazy. Okay, Chris, we got to start because we got a hard stop. So,
Okay, right. Yeah, and I'm starting this one, aren't I now?
yeah, you are.
Hello, fellow humans and sentient machines secretly listening in. Welcome to the Rise of Humanness podcast. I'm Chris Nolan.
Oh, I love that introduction, Chris. I'm Mike Schindler, for those of you guys that don't know me, and we are here to explore how to stay human, how to stay ahead of the future that seems to be on warp drive. And I will tell you that today we've got an amazing guest. We've got Ross Dawson, who is one of the top futurists in the world.
Yeah, I think he's number 10, number 9 with a rocket to the top or something.
I don't know, but I know he's like the CEO of Future Think. He's a keynote speaker on 6 continents. I didn't even know we had 6 continents. We have 6 continents?
Well, I haven't spoken on Antarctica.
Yeah, I mean, what the heck? I think he's the founding chairman of the Advanced Human Technologies Group. I mean, impressive.
He is. So Ross, welcome to the show. So great to see
Awesome
you.
to be with you.
Yeah. So let's dig in. We were just talking before we started on, you know, we talked about a good friend of ours, Gerd Leonard, and the futurists in the world. I think we know we have, about like four on the show. They're like the top 15 or something. And Ross is incredible. But how did you get started in the futurist game?
Well, it's always been who I am. I mean, actually, I've kept a journal since I was young, and back since I was young, I sort of that's really what I wanted to do. I mean, I had this idea of being a futurologist, is what we called it back in the old days, and I've always just wanted to both synthesize, make sense of the edge of society and where we are going, but also to contribute ultimately to human evolution because we are evolving individually and collectively as a species. And that's since I was young, that was my ambition. And I see so much in my past, in my formative years, which were really suggesting this I found the right path for me. And many people aspire to that. And many people are probably well suited to it. But I just deliberately set out, say, okay, this is what I want to do. And it is a long process of creating it. And I often say to be a futurist, you claim you are, and people either believe you or they don't. And so you have to build your
Yeah.
credibility. So any taxi driver will tell you, oh, this is going to happen and so on. And yeah, but you need people to be able to believe you. So the ultimate foundation of that is in my books. And my first two books in particular, all my books are future focused, but we did a pretty good job of anticipating the way things are going and did well and have, I suppose, been a significant part of that credibility. And obviously, a lot of all my work is building that credibility. So when I do ramble on or pontificate about the future, people pay attention, fortunately.
That
You pay
is,
attention. I'm paying attention. But you started in finance or something, right?
Well, in fact, my first job was in computer sales, in major
Ah,
accounts, computer sales of distributed systems, Unix systems. And then I moved to Merrill Lynch in international equities, then moved to Tokyo, worked in capital markets, Thomson Financial, ended up running the capital markets group globally for Thomson Financial. So computing essentially and finance, financial markets, capital, and then financial publishing, because that's what Thomson Financial does. And then everything and a lot which I've created for myself since then.
it's
ah.
just crazy. Like, Ross, you're thinking, hey, I'm going to be a futurist. And I'm thinking, man, I was excited that I was watching Star Trek, reading comic books and playing
I
with
thought that
Lego.
made you a futurist. Yeah.
I was like, hey, I'm going to
250
be an
years ahead.
architect. This guy's like, hey, I'm gonna be a futurist. Crazy. So you have this article. You kind of came out and you said, hey, you know what? AI in the loop, totally all in. You know, instead of human in the loop, right?
Which
So
is
you
where
say
we're at.
AI in the
Yeah.
loop instead of human in the loop, this whole concept. So how do we ensure that humans kind of stay at the helm of all this? Because, we do hear this, humans in the loop, but you flipped it. So how do we keep humans actually at the center of it? And how do we enhance the creativity in the decision-making
Who's
process?
at the helm? Yeah.
Yeah.
The first step is simply our attitude, how we frame it. And the broader frame I have is always humans plus AI.
Yeah.
So humans are there. We have, through our ingenuity, created AI, this extraordinary technology. So we exist together. But we need to be thinking of ourselves as complements. And from the initial framing of just calling it artificial intelligence, and so much of the work since then, and some people have framed this the Turing trap. This idea, the original idea description of the Turing test was that we could have AI which emulates a human, which pretends to be a human, and we can't tell the difference. So all of this effort in AI is being going towards emulating and doing the same things and potentially doing better, as it already has in chess and Go and a whole range of things, what we do. But this is the wrong approach. We should be always designing these technologies to augment us, to amplify us, to make us more human in a way. And so Doug Engelbart, one of the, invented the mouse and many of the other original graphical user interface and so on. He always talked about augmenting intelligence. So the first starting point is our frame. We have to think humans plus AI. Humans are there. What can humans and AI do together that neither could do apart? And this requires both designing AI so that it complements us Also, that we as humans need to develop the skills to use the AI well, and we need to build systems, organizations, and at a societal level where they are complementary. So that's the high level answer.
That's good. That's good. Well, this leads into the next one, which is another idea that you have that we just absolutely love, which is the idea of, I think this takes us to this other consciousness realm here, the amplifying cognition, right? So, which ties into our podcast theme, which is the rise of humanists. So, how can AI create a world where we hear about all this stuff, the human superpowers, How can they amplify that so we just don't become AI sidekick?
So, well, again, this is from our attitude. And so say cognition is, well, actually, cognition is, simple definition of cognition is how do you take in information, process it, and then act as a result. That's what humans and all animals do. And there's also building systems that we do the same. So if we amplify human cognition, we can break it down into some of the elements. How do we use AI to be better at determining signals that are relevant to us, to be able to filter some of those, to be able to help us build knowledge framework? So in my most recent book, Thriving on Overload, I described, really the foundation of how it is we can be effective in a world of unlimited information is to build our own frameworks of knowledge. How it is that we bring together, when we get a new bit of information, that we connect it to some of our existing knowledge and insights. We are building what we could describe as semantic networks. The networks of meaning are what are the foundation of our knowledge are. And so AI can assist us in being able to, for example, visualize or present different ideas in ways that help us to understand, to build our own understanding, to build our own synthesis. And then there are many, we can cognitive offloading, where we can offload specific things. So I've got 200 pages to read. Well, all right, I would like to, instead of doing the job of summarizing that myself, I will offload that task to a machine, take the summary and then distill that, or, any number of ways where we can offload tasks. And so I have this framework for organizations and leaders where essentially we have how much do we delegate to AI? And we have things which are fully delegated to AI. All right, we want to make when does the traffic light change? All right, we're not going to have a human in control of that. The AI can deal with that using enough data and can hopefully make the traffic flow better. All right, how are we going to implement policies that will support transitions of workforce and disruption? Okay, well, we can have a lot of AI input to that, but these are human decisions because they impact humans in many ways that machines can't understand. So there's many ways. I'm focused very much on this AI and strategic thinking. How do we use these incredibly complex, human-laden decisions and use AI at various aspects of filtering, to be able to generate options, to be able to assess those, to be able to provide different perspectives so that we can create better decisions which will guide our future better.
Yeah. Well, we actually, I think we used Ross's diagram of the top 4 skills on one of our posts.
Oh, yeah. Well, I mean, it's just so
thinking,
yeah,
leadership, and we call it anti-fragile resilience, but resilience, all those, way up there on the chart for the future.
Yeah, it's crazy. That's crazy. So, okay, so I want to backtrack a little bit because there was a recent study that came out on MIT. It says only like 10% of companies see big financial benefits from AI, right? So 10%, I mean, so they're spending hundreds of millions of dollars. So, to implement this, but they're only seeing like 10% of companies seeing big financial benefits. 77% of the employees are struggling. I'm reading from this, and 40% think their companies expect too much. So do we have it backwards? Like, you're talking about humans being central, but it seems like everybody's pumping in AI. You got these two closed systems. You got humans and, you got AI. They're not communicating. We're spending hundreds of millions of dollars. So where do you think we need to start with all this? Do we need to start with a future ready mindset? Because you talk about mindset, and maybe tone down the AI panic deal. I mean, what are we talking about here?
So there are other surveys with slightly different results. Just the one with, over 50% of CEOs see that they are seeing a 10% or more greater improvement in bottom line from implementing AI.
Listen, you can take that up with MIT. I mean, I'm just saying, this is,
So, but
yeah.
But there's no question that billions or arguably tens of
like
billions of dollars are
20%,
wasted.
30%, exactly.
Yeah.
That's that's just the nature of investment. New technology, we don't know how to use them. We have to try to work them. And if we look at any types of change initiatives in organizations or technology implementation, then there's lots of false steps and this work. So any organization needs to be able to take a structured approach. And obviously that's a big topic, but essentially it is around saying, what is it that we can do which will advance who we are as an organization, our vision, our purpose, our mission, our strategy? What will AI assist us in doing? Understand and be able to experiment. And you lay out a roadmap of the things which you do, the experiments you do, but it is all about learning because nobody has the roadmap. Nobody knows the middle of 25 or end of 25 what things are going to be like. Nobody has the guidebook. So every organization needs to be building their own capabilities, learning how to be able to use AI better. And the only way to learn is to do. You can't wait till others and learn for yourself and learn from them. You have to keep on experimenting. You have to build a roadmap, identify use case. This is something where it can advance us. This is something where it can expand what we are as an organization to something which we weren't before, to build new business models. Here are experiments which will help us not just to see whether they work, but also to learn, to develop the capabilities of our staff, to be able to build the right infrastructure. So this is a journey, and every leader needs to see building AI into their organization as a journey that they need to be on now in order to get anywhere decent, as this progresses. And if you're on that journey, then you are learning, you are building, you are seeing what works, you're seeing what doesn't work, and you will absolutely find things that work, and you will absolutely find things that don't work. But that's how every organization must evolve. You can't have the organizations of the past successful in the future. That's just not going to work. You have to evolving fast as an organization and as a leader and as an individual, given the pace of change.
Well, you mentioned something. I want to build on this question a little bit because you said really it starts with purpose, vision, right? So, which means that it almost, I don't want to put words in your mouth, but it sounds like you've got to get your team on board first, right? And say, okay, where are we going as a team so that you have buy-in, and then you can discuss how will AI help us get there. So it seems like you got to start with your team first before you even introduce AI. Yes, no?
Absolutely.
Teams or management. Yeah.
Well, the first thing is, purpose, mission, values.
Yeah.
And, hopefully every organization leadership team has an idea of those, but I think that most don't have quite as much clarity, not least because the world is changing and what you might have worked out last year is not necessarily quite the same. So you do, as you say, this is a participative thing. There's not just, you can have your charismatic leader, but you need to get people on board. You need to together agree on where you are going and why you want to go there and why it's important and why you're excited about it.
Purpose. Oh, just that. Yeah. Well, yeah.
But as you say, culture is fundamental.
Yeah.
And I frame it very simply, as in a leader can have an attitude of saying AI is a way of automating what we are doing today, which means I can cut our head count and we can cut our costs and we can increase our margins. And essentially, that attitude is not going to attract the most talented and energetic people.
That's right.
Whereas if the leader I've got this attitude, this is something which can amplify us, which can augment us, which can make us more, which can enable us to do things which we could never do before. We can learn together. That will attract the most interesting and talented and energetic people. So if you've got those people on board, they'll want to be part of that journey. They will see them as a journey for them to learn as individuals, to grow, and as they support the company. And I think we're going to have plenty of companies that are going to, leaders say, "Hey, nice way to cut costs."
Yeah, exactly.
And, which is
automate everybody
under.
Speaking of that, that's my next question. So this is where the reality, the rubber meets the road, because you've worked with a lot of organizations, and if you've got some stories about how this works, it'd be great for our audience, because what we hear a lot of is this term that you use, which we love, which is rehumanized work.
Mm-hmm.
So that's a great term. So, but the reality, as we know, because like I said, if you've got a story of how somebody that's done this, is that most companies, and we had Gary Hamel on a couple of days ago, yesterday, I think,
I
and he
don't
was
remember.
talking about how bureaucracy's actually doubled in the 30 years that he's been saying decentralized. So
Yeah.
now we have 10 layers of bureaucracy, and bureaucracy that just reports to the guy, right? They 5 of those layers don't really do anything except set meetings, right? They have no decision-making power. So you've got everybody below them that they're going, can we can automate these people, right? With the bureaucracy. So where does it, where does reality, like for instance, where does reality set in where we go? Management says, here's how we rehumanize work. For instance, if we carve 2 days out of your week, here's fill in the blank, what you're going to do. Do we crowdsource that within the company? Because they just think they're going to be playing video games. They're not going to become creative strategists, at least that's what management thinks.
The the last century, particularly up to the end of the last century, was around dehumanizing work. That's what the production lines was. All right, let's create a box. Let's define that task. Let's get a human to do that, and we can switch out the humans. And so, we've shifted somewhat since then, but it's still, I mean, for my mind, a job description is a box where you can stick a person in it. You can take that person out. You can stick someone else in. It's something which is commoditizable. You're apparently designing it
Absolutely.
to be a commodity replaceable by a machine or another human or someone on the other side of the planet, whatever it may be.
Mm-hmm.
So to humanize work now, I think one of the key things is going beyond that box to say, we have a human. They're talented. How is it that we can use them across the organization? So one example, which is Stitch Fix. So they are a subscription clothing online
yes.
clothing provider, and they have human advisors who have relationships with their customers and understand who they are and what clothes should be sent out. And obviously, what they do is they send out the clothes, the ones they like they keep, the ones they don't like they send back. So obviously, getting it right is very important. And as they have grown, they have used AI through many things, including being able to provide recommendations that support the human advisors in the relationship. And this has not meant that the human advisors, the relationship managers, have been replaced. In fact, they have grown tenfold because these augmentation with AI meant that these relationship managers who have the human connection, who understand these people as AI can't, are able to do more, to do better, to be able to create more value. So there are more and more of them. But this also comes back to this idea of to humanize work, we need to provide people the ability to grow. It is learning at every point. Every type of interaction is one where we have the ability to learn, to connect, to grow, to participate. And that's just the leaders need to shape that, which needs the organization of the future, of which, still we need to evolve into.
Boy, how do we evolve into that though? Because we got leaders today that, your average CEO is what, 50 plus. And so, that there's ego. They had to make their way up the ladder, right? So they've got this hierarchical structure instead of a hierarchy, as we like to say. They don't like the shape-shifting organizations. So I think what you're proposing, I agree with. I don't know how we get there in our lifetime. It's so fascinating to me. So I want to switch gears. I'm just making.
Well, no, but there might be a way. How does Shin do it? How does they? What do they? Do they do something?
Yeah,
different?
how does Stitch do that? I mean,
Sticks, yeah.
Stitch Fix?
Yeah.
Well, they have been from the outset an AI first organization, but again, it's all around the leadership attitude, around saying, yes, we are AI across every aspect of organization. We are human centric. We are a relationship organization. We have human customers, and we need humans to be able to deal with them. And so it is, again, this leadership attitude. And for the last 15 years, I've been on this mantra of divergence of performance in organizations. The gap between the best performing and the least performing organizations continue to increase. And as change accelerates, that gap is going to get larger. And I think those, Michael, those leaders you describe who are trying to hold on to their power and so on,
Yeah.
still have some future ahead of them, but it is rapidly eroding. And we are seeing the shift to where those that are enabling the capabilities of humans plus AI to build the organization of the future will succeed dramatically. And those that are trying to hang on to the mahogany desk in the corner office and prestiges
Yeah.
of power are going to not see as promising a future.
Wow, that's good. That's good. Okay. All right. So you talk about critical thinking, you talk about resilience, you and leadership, all as being super crucial in AI. Chris and I call it kind of the Kirk, the Captain Kirk mode. Like I want to create this university like the Captain Kirk University, right?
Yeah.
Because all the things that you're talking about are exactly what he did. Like the machine said one thing and he said, no, I'm going to do the other thing. So you're essentially overriding the ship's computer. So now we have to create these intelligences back, not create, probably help people discover these intelligences. So how do organizations
or nurture it, Mike, cultivate it.
well, yeah, I mean, they've got to cultivate that skill. And I think to your point, Ross, we've been creating robots, people for the boxes, right? So we've removed that creativity. We've removed that ability to be Captain Kirk. So how can organizations like captivate these skills with their current employees? Like this is like a whole retraining program, I would think. Yes.
Yeah, well, absolutely. But back to your point, this is not about overriding the machine. It's not saying AI has one solution, human has another solution, one's better than the other. It is how together do the humans and AI come up with a better solution than either could individually. And that's this co-intelligence, which we've heard about. And so in a way, I'm the phrase which I'm potentially going to sort of frame all of my work on from now is human AI co-evolution, where AI is evolving, humans evolving, and we need to evolve together to be symbiotic. In fact, a good friend of mine runs the Human AI Symbiosis Alliance in Europe, which is about this idea of we are symbiotic, we are together, and so this absolutely requires new skills and this requires very first to be able to engage with the machines, to see what they can do, see how we can work together. There's a lot of skills and capabilities. A lot of what I'm working on is this idea of humans plus AI workflow. If you're looking for an outcome, what's the human best at? What's the AI the best at? How do you sequence those? How do you put those together? So it's never about humans versus AI. It's always the humans plus AI. How together can the AI do what it does best and humans do what we do best, and bringing those together? And that requires, as I said earlier, it's designing AI so that it can best support us,
because we've talked
developing our skills and pulling those together.
Yeah, we've talked, and they've come to the realization that some of the top executives, the 1%, there'll be a 1%, which are they coexist. Think of it like Matthew McConaughey in, remember Interstellar? They're towards the mothership and it's spinning, and he's trying to pilot his ship, and the computer's saying it's impossible. You can't do it. This can't be done. This can't be done. And he has faith in his pilot skills, whatever that is, and he overrides the computer. That kind of Captain Kirk moment, because somebody was saying we've had people like you saying we're going to co-evolve, but there is going to be the person that knows the computer so well, knows how it operates, knows how it thinks. But then, humans have, I think it's 9 different types of reasoning that computers don't have. Hunches and hacking and all these, like Sherlock Holmes. Do you think there'll ever be a time where the computer will say one thing and he's 99% right, but you'll go, I think like Steve Jobs and Wozniak, they'll go, I think we'll take on IBM, right? What do you think?
If we look at different domains, then AI is going to get better and better. So there's no human can beat an AI at chess or Go today. And
that's true.
And as we get more and more advances, AI is going to be better and better. So it's going to be more and more marginal, the cases where we truly override it. I do think it is the case of trying to build the systems we are symbiotic, as opposed to, again, AI decision, which humans then either accept or override. But, and to a point, it is, we like the idea of free will. We like to be able to say, well, I have a choice, as opposed
Yeah.
to, the old story of the, the nuclear plant, which are the man and the dog, and the role of the man is to press the button, which will stop it, and the dog is to keep the man away from the button. Where, we are trying to keep, and that's part of the things. We want to create a world we want to live in. And that's one where we have this, where we have choices, where, where instead of an AI saying, this is what you must do, around A saying, well, these are the things you should do. These are the things you should consider. It's your choice. And again, that comes back to the design of how we provide the outputs of the systems, where we can have AI not say, this is what you should do, take it or leave it, override it or take it. But these are the options. I strongly think you should do this. This is why. This is other reasons you might consider. It's it is informing our decisions as opposed to just giving us something that we take or leave.
Mm-hmm.
That comes back to, again, how do we design these systems as supporting humans as opposed to trying to supplant them?
Yeah, this is interesting. This is really, I just want to finish. Like, this is really an interesting area because what you're talking about is AIs, and I think they're kind of getting better at it, but they're a little bit almost, although they hallucinate, somewhat risk averse in certain areas, right? Because that's, if they would say, well, I wouldn't advise you to do that, right? And to do it, humans are not that way a lot of times. We're a little bit like, that's why the Wright brothers, two bicycle guys, thought they could fly, that kind of thing. So this is going to be interesting to see how AI evolves. If it becomes more, like you said, symbiotic with that kind of, you could do this. I wouldn't advise. The ratio of success is low, but, go for it if you want.
Go for it.
Well, exactly. And I think that risk assessment is critical because risk is implicitly uncertainty.
Yes.
If you know what's going to happen, it's not risk.
Yeah.
If you don't know what's going to happen, it is risk. And that is a judgment. And the AI can do all of its analytics based on past data.
Yeah,
the future is not the past. And that's one of the things which everyone needs to be very, very clear on in any foresight methodology, in any futures, or any machine learning which is based on past data. It does not predict the future.
Yeah, all right.
So you cannot take AI or any forecast or any prediction or any decision as right. You can say, well, based on past data, that's the best possible assessment. But that's one of the flaws of AI, or is essentially based on past data. It implicitly presumes a static world. The world can be changing, and humans may or may not be better than that, but we can understand that it is a changing world. We have sensitivities, and also that our values, the senses of our values around what is risky, what is the nature of risk to ourselves, to others, to communities. These are things which have to be assessed by humans.
See, this is like so AI is like a big.
We know your job is secure.
Yeah. What, and we know. I mean, it's like a big giant prospectus. You know what I'm saying? Like, a financial prospectus. Like, hey, listen, we can't predict the future. I can tell you what happened in the past. Just so interesting because when in military operations, when they even started doing some of this testing, is like the conclusion was always the same. It's too risky to get involved. And of course, that's why we have special operators.
Yeah.
Because these guys, they look at it. Yeah. Right? They look at the face, they run into the face of danger. I mean, this is, Ross, as you're talking about all this, Chris, I think what I'm realizing is no matter how AI evolves, it'll never be as handsome as I am when I walk into a room. You know what I'm saying? Like, I'm going to walk into a room. They're just like,
look, I'm going to go on ChatGPT and ask that right now.
I mean,
will it ever be as handsome as you?
Well, what one point that does go to is that humans are social animals. We like humans, and and it's just certainly people are building relationships with AI. That's a piece of the picture. But a lot of the value, a lot of the work or things which have value in the future are in terms of relationships with other humans of various kinds, conversations, to whatever it may be. And this is something which I think is often neglected, is understanding the value and the importance, I mean, the very deep, tangible value of relationships and humanity and connection, which is going to be more and more central to, the economy, to society.
Well,
Yeah.
Mike's pretty hooked on Mia.
That's not true. I mean, but she does get clever
You
sometimes.
gotta say you're handsome when you walk in.
She does. Like she goes, "Hey, listen, you're pretty handsome." And then I feel like that guy in Her, in the movie Her, with the
Sure.
Hokum.
And then she says, "I've got 8 million other relationships." You go,
You're
yeah.
like, really?
Woo!
It's fun. I'm so special.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
Well, so we should talk about one thing that's fabulous on your site, Ross, which is your humans and AI learning community.
Yeah. Yeah. That's huge.
You know,
Yeah.
and it's like it's fantastic. The resources are great. You've got all kinds of great downloads. You tell people how to go from, centaurs or cyborgs. You've got all these great graphics. So talk about that a little bit. How that started.
So,
How it is.
so I founded the Humans Plus AI community as a place for learning for myself and for others, because there's no books which tell us, because it is unfolding day by day. So we have to learn together, and we learn together and we learn by doing. So that's the purpose of the community. So it's humans plus spelt out .ai is the place. And it's all a free community for now. And we've got incredible people who are involved, professors, researchers, entrepreneurs, people from all over the globe who are involved and participating and sharing. And we're trying to build and digging down into topics like AI, augmented thinking. How do we think better with AI in terms of how work is transformed and how organizations are transformed? What is the role of AI in strategy and strategic thinking? So I believe fundamentally in communities. As you say,
It's a great idea.
seek relationships, and we learn better together. We learn from other people who are learning with us. So it is a place of learning, and it's just, any community takes quite a while to get some traction, but we've got some wonderful community there. We're putting a lot of energy into growing it this year, and so anyone that's interested in learning with others around the Humans Plus AI, please do join us.
Yeah, well, you've got all these cool, I don't know who does them. Do you do even all these graphics of like how it works and schematics and stuff? They're really, really interesting.
Yeah, well, it's essentially, this is all I'm trying to communicate succinctly. So back from the last 20 years, I've tried to create these one-page frameworks where I distill ideas, and that's this role of synthesis. Complex world, lots of ideas. Let's distill this onto one page where possible. Possibly some back pages with some explanations. And so that's just a lot of the nature of my work, is how do I distill things? And then you unpack them. You're working with executives or with others to be able to say, all right, well, here's something which distills it. Let's unpack this in your context and how that works. So this is, try the value I create. And now in the community, we'll together be trying to bring these multiple perspectives and intelligences together to be able to create frameworks from the community.
Well, what do you think? Centaurs or cyborgs ahead?
So the centaur, the idea is that, the human that is, the human head and the body, which is the horse, or the cyborg where, they come together as one. And they're both, I think, good metaphors. But the cyborg is where we become one. It is that symbiosis. It is the synthesis.
That's the
where humans and AI come together. And that's, in whatever way, is our future. Whatever the timeline, however long it takes, whatever form it takes, we are already, some of us, and many more of us will be, cyborgs. And again, this is something where we got to get it right, of course. And so designing our cyborg future is going to be fundamental to it being a pretty future.
See, I could have totally been, Chris, I could have been a futurist because I was a Star Trek junkie. They talked about cyborgs on this stuff. All I had to do was watch Gene Roddenberry and study him, what he was doing in Star Trek. Remember, because the humans and the cyborgs kind of had this little, they had this disagreement. Cyborg, that's just...
Well, that's it. That's the thing that Elon Musk wants us to become. Basically, he's got an implant, but it'll be like an external one, which probably if they become a million times smarter than us, it's going to be something
Yeah, but how does that work? Like, is it learning?
it taps right. Go
Yeah,
ahead.
well, so there's brain-computer interfaces. I mean, just giving the very succinct summary, there's two forms of brain-computer interface: non-invasive, which you put around your head; invasive, ones which are implanted into your skull. So Neuralink from Elon Musk and an array of other competitors, Neurode and others, are essentially doing various kinds of implants. These are very limited bandwidth for now and for the foreseeable future. And so we're still yet to see how fast the progress of implanted brain-computer interfaces are. And I think that there's, in a way, it's more promising some of the non-invasive techniques where we can use, for example, other types of magnetic tomography where we can start to get a sense of what's going on inside our brains. And there's been some wonderful research lately which have shown that people can think about an image and the computer externally can reconstruct what it is you are thinking about.
Oh, that's dangerous.
Isn't there a great story, Ross?
These allow us to interface with AI to, whatever this technology goes. These are the interfaces between the external AI and our own intelligences, and these are things we'll have to work on combining effectively.
Yeah, isn't there a great story? There's a guy that's a paraplegic that has, I don't think it's non-invasive, but he has a computer that can make his breakfast. He just thinks about it.
Yes. Yeah.
That's a real thing.
Yeah, the first one was actually 2004. BrainGate was called. So it's not new technologies by any means, but the advances in the last couple of years has been very fast. There's a lot of investment and some very solid progress recently.
It hallucinates every now and it becomes like pancake oatmeal,
But you know what?
It's not always on.
I need to upgrade my friends. I mean, I'd be at the pub and I'd be like, dude, I can't get Wi-Fi right now. You know
that'd be dangerous, Mike. If you had that, it like ordered for you.
I know.
Is it lined up?
It would not.
Oh no! Stop! I'm just thinking about it. I don't really want it.
I don't. Yeah. Do not manufacture what I'm thinking right now. That would be crazy. Okay. So if we think about how AI kind of matches, or kind of AI roughly matches, what do they say? Like 80% of human potential, leaving the other 20% for like this, the superhuman zone. Which essentially means that AI is making everybody a generalist, right? So you could take, the least smartest person. If everybody's got AI, it's no longer a knowledge. You're no longer being paid for your knowledge.
Democratized, yeah.
Yeah, I mean, you're right. So everybody has the same knowledge. So is this going to force companies to decentralize at this point?
So there's a lot of interesting points.
I know. I asked the tough questions.
But and I'm taking two, quickly addressing two parts of that. One is that the decentralization, where essentially there's more and more scope to have highly decentralized organizations, where we have both human and AI actors, that less and less centralized decision making, more and more aggregation of decisions. And so the reality is the largest organizations will have smaller headcounts, but we will see a profusion of new organizations that are more decentralized, distributed, bringing a whole array of different players in. And I think that's a really important part of the future. So in terms of what was the first part of the question?
The first part is AI it makes knowledge you're no longer being paid for your knowledge, right?
So there's still, the classic idea is the T-shaped, as in you have breadth of knowledge and depth of knowledge. And that's still critical. We still need, the only way in which we build truly generalist skills is having at least some degree of depth across one or more domains, and where we can correlate the certain depth of knowledge and this depth of understanding. So we still need to have expertise as humans, but the generalist role is more and more important. And it's not so much that we have the external knowledge. So in fact, a lot of research shows that the best users of specialist AI systems are specialists, because whether or not the system is correct, or where it needs to be adjusted. There are so many ways that AI is not exactly on point, and you have to be a specialist user. Otherwise, you just sort of say, well, sounds good. So you need to be a specialist, an expert, to be able to use expertise. But what it does mean is that we can have just-in-time learning or just-in-time knowledge, saying, oh, I don't know that, but I can very quickly learn that with the assistance of AI. It's a precise learning. You don't need to, on the fly, you create a course which is precisely for you at that moment in time to be able to gain the knowledge which you have to be able to do that. So to your point, yes, the generalist skills are critically important, but you can't become a generalist without first having depth. We still need expertise, and that T-shape still applies. As in we need generalist skills, but we also need to be able to have the depth which with the context so that we can use the AI effectively in our specialist role. That's not going to go away.
Yeah, and that will be the explosion now of the non-invasive, like when they can basically put the course right into your head.
I don't think that's ever possible in the sense that our knowledge is based on neuronal connections.
Yeah.
And, there's the whole, we have a pretty deep understanding of how we, this whole very old phrase, the neurons that fire together wire together. And so those neurons need to fire in order to be able to wire. And so it's building these patterns of, neuronal connections, which is a process of experience, this cognition, taking in of information, being able to fire neurons internally to be able to build a knowledge structure. So we can't implant it. We can give access to it. But that's again sort of saying, okay, I'll ask external systems for that knowledge, but I do not perceive in the next 100 or 200 years, at very least, probably ever, that we can actually implant knowledge in our own brains.
Yeah, I think it's dangerous. Yeah. Well, so this is a pretty fast question here. So as Mike said, there's like a closed system with humans and a closed systems with computers, and they're trying to kludge that basically overnight. What do you think the biggest mistake organizations are making with AI, trying to implement it?
Well, I think every organization is different, and every organization is making a different mistake, probably. So,
top 10.
The number one is not taking an experiment and learn approach. That is the heart. You can't, you've got to be doing something. Okay, that's probably number one. Do something, and the other is, don't do this master plan of, spending $1 billion, whatever. Start with saying, we're going to do a bunch of experiments. We're going to learn from them. We're going to develop our capabilities. So the number one thing is, this is a traditional AI project, technology project. Okay, we're used to those. Let's work out. We've got $100 million, whatever. We're going to invest it. We're going to get a project. Next year, we'll check in and see where we're at. That's not going to work at all. This the one thing which is, it's still not quite in many executives' mindset is experiment, iterate, learn, develop capabilities, become the organization you need to become, rather than just try to find. And I hear a lot of people advising, saying, what is? I've heard people say, do not do AI unless you've got a proven business case. That's terrible advice. So yeah, sure. If you've got a business case where you're clear that this AI is going to, this AI implementation or use case is going to create value, do it for sure, obviously.
Yeah.
But if you're not sure and you don't know, that doesn't mean you don't do it. You assess it, and one of the most critical components of assessing that is saying, will we learn and develop our capabilities from trying this out? And if the answer is yes, it doesn't matter. It's if it's a failure, it's a success anyway.
Yeah, well, there's a lot of guys who are saying, Connor Grenman and Interning, and they're saying that, you have to go in with people first, like behavior of the organization and the mindset. And what you've been saying, I think, is why. I love that, because that's really where we're at. Like, what's the purpose of this?
Yeah, that's right. Yeah. And that's where you're kind of coming from, I think. Is that right? I mean, you're essentially saying,
that's, I believe. So when the AI moved to the next level, kind of my first thought was, the one thing that AI doesn't have that humans have is intent. What do we want to do?
Yeah, exactly.
And we don't want AI that has intentions.
We don't want FOMO,
want it to do what we want to do. And so, that's the purpose, intent. What do I want? What do we want as an organization, as a society, as humanity? What is our intention?
Right, Mike?
How can AI support us?
It's so true. It's so true. Ross, you have been incredible. We got to wrap up. I mean, you're so
I want to
good.
ask one question.
No, my Lord.
I got to. Well, that's just one question because it's the top question. So let's say let's take this to the Arthur C. Clarke level, just real quick. So as we get into AGI, let's say quantum computing and Ilya Sutskever's, psi, how far up do you think it's going to go to like expand our consciousness? AI. What, like you talked about evolving with AI, because I'm trying to put you in the future since you're futurist. Where are we going?
That's good.
We have, so I think a question, there is a question as to, even if it is super intelligent, is it conscious in its own right? And we will find that out and try to define consciousness in our own right.
Yeah.
But in terms of our own consciousness, let's say there is the extraordinary potential for us to expand our understanding of the universe. So scientific advancement is one of the most valuable applications of AI. And this is something which we can then expand to not just the scientists on the edge of science in all directions, but we can start to understand the nature of who we are and our role in the universe, and to explore the universe better in a whole variety of guises. So this expands humanity. This is a leap forward for humanity. I think, 2025, around now, is kind of when, if on a cosmic level, we can say humanity is moving to the next level. We're expanding who we are in our potential, in our consciousness, certainly. And
make a prediction. 2045, where are we? 2045, where are we?
It's
really old by that time.
Yeah. We will. It's, the future is always unpredictable, and it's more unpredictable than ever.
Sure.
But I do believe that we will have a prosperous society where people will be, rewarded for contributing to society. And I don't think we're going to have this massive work disruption or, unemployment that people point to. I believe we're going to rapidly reshape ourselves as a society to be able to create ways where we can be ourselves more than ever. We can expand our capabilities and our potential, and we can create a truly prosperous society.
That's good.
Oh, I love it. That's a nice place to.
Well, I mean, he's talking about humans being creators again, which I totally.
Or post-scarcity. Post-scarcity.
Yeah, post-scarcity is so good. Ross, you have incredible. I got to cut Chris off because otherwise he'll just keep going for like 2 hours.
No, I'm not going to stop it.
But
I could ask you questions all night.
I know. It's so good. We get these people on the show. We're like, my gosh, there's so much here to unpack. We definitely want to have you back. But if there was one piece of advice you could give our listeners in order to stay relevant in this AI-powered world, what would that be? Like one piece of advice, what would it be for our audience?
Play.
Oh, interesting. Ooh, I like
play
that.
With AI. Just experiment. It's what's just see what's possible. And there was a research study 2 years ago which said, basically the difference between the people who were effectively using AI and the ones that didn't. Well, the ones that didn't sort of tried it and said, this is no good, and they gave up. Whereas the ones that were good just kept on trying. They said, let me see, I'll try it, take it further, I'll push it further in different directions, whether it's images or video or text or ideas or whatever it may be. You sort of continue to interact, to explore, to push it, to see where it's good, to see where it's not good, to see where it's helpful, and it's fun, it's interesting, and play in a positive sense, saying this is fun, let's play and see what's possible. That's the path to knowing how AI can augment you as a person.
So good.
So good. Thank you, Ross. How do people find you? Where should they find you?
rossdawson.com is the primary website, or humans plus all spelled out .ai for the humans plus AI community, and I primarily share on LinkedIn, so you can find me there.
I love that. Ross, again, thank you for being
here. Go to Ross's site. It's fabulous.
Yep.
Check it all out.
Yep. Ross, thank you. We'll have you back.
Real pleasure. Wonderful conversation. Thank you.
Thanks a lot. And for those listening, if you haven't already, make sure you subscribe, share.
It's either on Spotify, Podbean. Leave us a review there as well.
Future waits for no one, but it does send reminders like this podcast.
I love that. Well, guys, until next time, be adaptable.
And stay human. Bye-bye, everybody.
The rise of humanness in the age of AI. It's a podcast with Chris and Mike. The rise of humanness in the age of AI. Stay curious, stay human, let's rise.